This week's channel message from the angels is a mind blower. It is the clearest explanation I think I have ever seen about what it is to be moving from our karmic consciousness to our new unity consciousness. And it is really amazing. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you are here, and I'm so glad that you are along for this journey because it is a journey. It is a gradual, they are building these messages one across the next, across the next. They're deepening our understanding of who we are becoming, of what our truth really will be. So, and for those of you who are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm. I do that by going into a deep meditative state or trance, and from there I raise my awareness up as high as I can go. I stretch a little higher. I connect at the angelic realm, and then messages, information, and healing come through, and I share it here with you guys on YouTube. So my format is I will give you a quick explanation of what the message is. Then I'm going to share the original channeling, which I channeled yesterday, and then I will break down the message. And that is a critical piece of it, is taking it apart piece by piece and helping us to really get the full meaning of it. So I suggest if you are new to the channel, is when you listen to the channeling, just let it wash over you. That there are loads of frequencies coming through in the channeling, and even if you come in like super awake and you ate your Wheaties and you're feeling good, it can be hard to follow the first time you hear it. So just let it go through you, because it's like the energy, it kind of makes it hard for our brain to work. So that's okay. Don't fight it. Just listen passively, let the information come through, and then listen to the breakdown. And then at that point, if you want to go back again and listen to the message, at that point, the conscious mind will be online and it will all make beautiful sense to you. So, okay, so the message today, you guys, I actually drew pictures because today's message is wonderful. I absolutely love it. And I know I say that every week, but it never gets old for me, you guys. And I do feel like the messages are growing in depth, and it's like I feel like, and I don't know if it's that my channel is just becoming clearer, or if they feel like we are becoming clearer and we are more ready for it. You know, there is a lot of light hitting the planet. It could be that we are just more ready for it. But here they are talking about, in this message, they are talking about like, how is it that when our consciousness changes, how we're going to be moving from a singular point of origin where all things are in alignment with that expression, to multiple points of origin where each of us becomes a point of origin of consciousness. So anytime you start talking about consciousness, it gets a little wild and woolly, which is why I drew the pictures. But I think they said it more clearly than I've ever understood it before. And they certainly are drawing on a lot of stuff they've told us about and they've been teaching us before now. They've been talking a lot. Some of it has been sort of very foundational lessons about the importance of like releasing and allowing and like doing the nesty plunge into the abyss and allowing ourselves to be, living in the unknown and living in wonder and being open to that childlike wonder of experiencing new things, stepping out of the old. Like, these are the foundational lessons they've been giving us, message upon message upon message upon message, telling us like the building blocks of this. And now I feel like this is a piece that stitches some of that together and then adds a very, very deep layer of understanding. So I'm very excited to share with you guys. So before I do, I wanted to talk about you guys know Soul Convergence is coming up. I wanted to talk about that in the context of a question that I get asked a lot, which is, how is it that I channel? How is it that we're talking about the clarity of my channeling. And it has become increasingly clear over time. Like, if you go back and look at messages that I channeled for you guys 4 years ago, and then even 2 years ago, and certainly it's like the voices change, but there's, for me internally, I feel a fluidity more than I ever have felt before. Like, there's a trust and a confidence in the angels that, like today's message, I channeled it in a hotel room in the half-hour window I had between the end of one thing and the beginning of another. And it was boom, I'm channeling, I'm in, and it's there, and it's just that level of trust and the ability to get into the zone. And it has changed for me, that I trust my channel more than I ever have. And trust the angels and trust what's coming through more than I ever have. And that has been a journey, a huge journey. And you guys know a lot about my journey. I share it openly, despite how humiliating that can be sometimes. Well, like sometimes, yeah. Like sometimes I, whoa, but did I have some doozies, and still have some doozies to work through. But everything from the very beginning, when one of my biggest challenges was the fear of being seen, which I know so many of you can relate to. So many of you are being called into service, being called to share your gifts, and you struggle with the fear of being seen. And it is real. How are we supposed to convince people that we can be of service, that we can be healers, that we can be channels, that we can be spiritual leaders, whatever it is, if we don't, if we're afraid to be seen? Because what that says is like, hey, I don't have confidence in what I'm doing. How do we overcome that so that we can be of service? So, I had big wounding around that. I mean, all of our wounding, much of it stems back to the conditioning we received between birth and age 7. And even before that, you would be shocked. You would be shocked how much of your junk comes from the womb. Like, and tons of mine, the fear of being seen came from the womb. I will tell you, my fear of being seen came from when I was in the womb, and my dreams show me this very, very clearly. When I was in the womb, my mom was pregnant, and that she and my dad were not doing well together. Like, their marriage was never meant to stay together. Like, they really are not compatible, and it was very, like, karmically aligned to be this way. It was I don't fault either of them. I see it as a natural conclusion. It wasn't always meant to happen that way, and I was meant to receive the wounding that I received through that process. But my dad was leaning out, and my mom was feeling bad about how she looked. Right, she's pregnant with me. And so she has a fear of being seen, right, when she's pregnant with me. And that comes from conversations between her and my dad, events that happen between her and my dad, where she takes that in and feels inadequate, whatever it is, feels bad about herself. When you are in the womb, everything that is said to your mother is as if it's being said to you. You take it in as if it's about you. And so all of those feelings became my feelings, and my dreams show it absolutely clearly. And so I was born with this sense of, like, the fear of being seen. And there was layers to it, layers and layers and layers that built up over the course of my life. So how the heck do you heal that, right? How do you heal something that happened before you had any words or any memories? It's in the womb. How do you heal that? And the answer is we can't do it on our own. There's no way. We cannot, there's things we can heal that will come up in our daily life that we can perceive, and we can say, okay, I'm recognizing I have a wound coming up. I recognize I'm being triggered, and I can work with that trigger. But how do we get to the core? Like, what is it for you that you seem to be facing again and again and again and again in your life, despite your best efforts? Like, is it health, right? Is it money? Is it friendships? Like, what is it for you that just seems to be like, gosh, you wish it could be different, and you just don't seem, despite trying as hard as you can, you don't seem to be able to get over it, right? What is it for you? I have mine. Do I ever have mine? I had it, and it unfolded over many, many layers. That's actually going to be what my new book is all about. It's going to be trying to share what my most difficult patterns have been. And so if you think about that, like, what is it that your biggest struggle that you have yet to solve? And that is the work that we do in Soul Convergence. And if I think about, like, for me, trying to work through mine, like, how is it that I went from the fear of being seen to being out loud and proud on YouTube, channeling angels? How is it that I got from a place? There were so many things I have had to work through, you guys, so many things. Some of them have been really, really difficult. And I had a lot of healing through relationship. Oh my gosh. So if you look at my chart, I had this huge amount of activity in my 7th house, including, like, mom and dad, and I'm going to repeat their patterns, and then I'm going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And I have. And the big lesson for me was that I needed to learn to honor my own feelings. And I was afraid to honor my own feelings because my conditioning from in the womb and very early childhood was that I needed to not have needs, or I might not have a family, right? That mom and dad would leave if I had needs. And so I needed to just keep everybody happy, make harmony all the time. And how many of you can relate to that? Like, how many of you empaths out there feel like you're constantly trying to solve and trying to make everybody happy, right? And where you actually, like, for me, it was an actual fear, like a gripping fear. Like, if I would speak my truth, if I would say what I was really going on inside, if I was really going to say, hey, this is making me very unhappy, I would have a deep fear that I would lose the stability or the safety of the relationship. And that stems directly from my earliest childhood. And that's the stuff we just got to have help with it. We cannot do it on our own because we can't see it. And so we just keep recreating it again and again and again throughout our life, despite our conscious efforts to not to. But it's like our conscious brain is pointing this way, saying, hey, let's do it different this time. And our subconscious brain is going, no way, I'm looking back here. Remember what happened and how painful that was? We're not going to create that again. So you're going in cross purposes. And the only way to resolve it is to somehow access and work through the things that were unresolved from before. But most of the time we can't see it because it's so deep. And the last thing we want to do, the last thing our subconscious mind wants to do is address it. Our subconscious mind wants to push that stuff down and not come up because it is terrifying to let it come up. It feels terrifying. So, and for some of you guys, some of these wounds are like things you do remember, and it's terrifying to bring them to the surface. We're afraid they're going to somehow take over, right? Take over our lives, take over that. How will we ever recover ourselves if we let that come to the surface? So we need help, and that help can come in a lot of different forms. And I can tell you my process of working through my junk, it has taken me more than a decade of conscious, really like 15 years of absolute conscious, steady effort of working on myself all the time. And all of my close friends, everyone who knows me closely knows that that is the truth. And those of you who have been here with me on this journey, because I share my junk, I share it with you guys. You guys know I am constantly making changes, working on myself, facing my junk constantly. And it has taken me through that process. It has taken me like 15 years. And I would say now, like, my heart chakra is clear. Like, it really is. I've had dreams showing me, confirming, and it is important for me to do that because it's an important part of the healing I'm doing now. But it took me that much concerted effort. And so how do we make that easier for people? That's the point. That is the whole point. That is why the angels brought through soul convergence. Because it is a process by which, yes, you have to engage. Like, yes, you are the one that heals yourself, but the angels facilitate it in a way that you can do that decade worth of continuous work on yourself. You can do it in 6 months. Like, you can do it in a way that is not dragging you through the mess again, in a way that brings it to the surface in a gentle way so you can process it and move through it. And then what comes on the other side, I will tell you, having done this work myself, I will tell you that it's a level of peace. It brings tears to my eyes, that it's a level of peace that's hard to express. It's literally like you are in your life, but you're different in your life. Like, things don't hurt the way they hurt before. You see people with compassion. You understand why they're doing what they're doing. And it no longer becomes about you. It becomes about their journey and your role in their journey. And it brings you a level of joy in your life that I can't imagine living without now. Yeah. And I'm so compassionate to my younger self and to what I used to feel and what I used to go through. And to have the experience now of being on this end of it. And not that I'm done, because I'm not done. Like, there's always more stuff for me. There's always more things. I don't know what, I just went through a big one, a really big one. But it was like kind of the final test of a major pattern that I was resolving related to relationships, really big one. And it was all about, will I honor my feelings? Like, will I forgive and allow and look after other people, or will I stand up for myself the way that you would want to be stood up for? Will I be the person that honors me so that other people will honor me? And that was the test. And I passed. I did it. I did it, but it wasn't easy. It was really hard. So anyways, that is why this is not just another thing. This is like a deeply personal mission because I know it works. I know soul convergence works. And so if the timing is right for you, and it needs to be right for you, it needs to be something that speaks to your heart. It needs to be something that you feel you want deeply. because it's a commitment, you guys. It means coming in and doing a meditation, and it's just a meditation, but you got to do it every day. And you're going to go through peaks where you feel amazing, and then you're going to go through peaks where you're like, whoa, this is hard, and then amazing again. And by the end of it, yeah, you can heal amazing things. And it is you that's doing the healing. The angels and I are facilitating the healing. The angels, really. I open the door and they do the work. But it's you. And so, yeah, we've had incredible. We've had multiple people have had hearing restored, like amazing, like where it's actually like documented by their doctors. We have people, someone who used to be agoraphobic is now out of the house. We have people who had estranged relationships where all of a sudden those relationships have come back into their lives. But the biggest thing we hear is the peace, is that people feel a new level of peace in their lives. So yeah, I want that for everyone. I do. So if you want to be part of Soul Convergence, this is the last opportunity this year to join in. It's a resource intensive program. It involves many, many people because everybody who joins it gets one-on-one sessions with a Soul Convergence guide. We work with you through your dreams. So there's a lot that goes into it. So like I said, it takes a lot of resources to create the program. So this is the last time, and I think it's coming up June 7th is when it starts. So you've got a little bit of time to kind of look at your calendar. Can you do this, and make it happen for yourselves? So, anyways, so that is something. Think about it, feel into it, listen to your heart. Is now the time for you, and I hope you'll join us. Okay. Whew, I didn't expect to get so emotional there, but I did. It's just because it matters, you guys. It's just because it matters so much. So, all right. So let's go ahead and dive into the message, you guys. Are you ready? I'm very excited. And like I said, I have graphics, I have pictures to share with you. And they are not professional. We just had our wisdom soup, and we had like 3 amazing artists come in and talk about their spiritual like how art is a spiritual expression for them. And I should have had them draw my pictures because they're not very good, but you will bear with me. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the message. Here it is.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Blessings, we are within. We begin speaking with you now on the topic of central control and central focus, how all has been organized thus far from the pinpoint of concentrated awareness, and all things replicate themselves from that central point. All things are derivative from where you start. All things derive from a shared focal point of awareness. In the new reality that is beginning, all shall readjust to an opening of another sort, a new beginning, a new construct within which the central focus of who you are becomes distributed among the many, many realities shared at once through many points of focus. This concentrated awareness you have been a part of unites and shares between yourselves a co-created reality of awareness, which reinforces itself through repetitive redistribution of similar experiences. In the new reality which will emerge from between you and within you, multiple focal points coalesce into a shared understanding that is accepted but not diminished between yourselves. It is as if many pinpoints of recognition can realign themselves to accept or deny a shared understanding or truth. It is not merely one point replicating itself. It is many points focusing together consciously for the co-creation of a shared reality by choice. The new understanding of yourselves as creators thus far has not emerged. It has not become the state of awareness. It shall become this. You shall unify yourselves internally. You shall come to an understanding of your own central focus point, of your own conscious ability to become the creator, independent of what has come before, as a starting point, an instigator, not merely a reflection of the many instantiations you have lived thus far. This starting point focuses where you are in the now moment. It is a new beginning, a new creative focus. It starts from the momentary awareness of yourself as standing on the precipice of the unknown, of what has never been, of what cannot come from before. The how and how it is done cannot be known. The what to do cannot be understood. It comes from within, from the spoken heart that knows its own awareness aloud into the emptiness. Here is how a newness is begun, how a newly arisen consciousness states itself as a new beginning. A universal construct stems from within your heart, each and every one. And as you come together into conscious awareness, the push and pull of those awarenesses come into agreement and resolution upon what shall be shared opportunities that stem from within and conjoin and unite into an agreed upon a focal point of the now moment. There shall be within each of you a distributed reality which cannot be conjoined. Certain aspects of your own internal starting point which shall not rise into the shared construct of what is accepted by the many. And this is an angularity to the shared construct. It is a separative moment. It is a space within which you are separated from the whole. And this is by agreement. This is a settlement within the self of I am still a separated particle of awareness. I am still myself, though I contribute to the all. I experience harmony within myself through the co-creation that is shared and the separative elements of who I am that are not shared. I am in polarity within myself, in my wholeness. My wholeness experiences sharing and separation within the whole construct of who I am. Each of you shall rise into this disagreement and agreement within the self. And through this positive attraction, which draws you together, the polarity of what shall not come into agreement shows itself to your awareness, and you come to see yourself as a magnificent, expansive particle in the universe. Through that which cannot conjoin with others, you stretch yourself into a polarity that expands the universal possibilities of what can arise into a future construct. You become more because of the polarity that you house. All cannot be resolved to join together into what is whole, in the central focus of all humanity. There cannot be a wholeness that incorporates all of what you are. There can only be that which aligns with all else that come together, and that which shall not meld into that conjoined reality separates you from a shared understanding that is all-inclusive, wherein you might lose the concentration and awareness of your own individual self. The polarity juxtaposes your internal reality against that which is shared and shows the self how you might rise into newer and more creative aspects of who you are, creating infinite universes beyond this one, creating elements of self that extend far beyond that which is imagined now. It is a wholeness of truth that all of you share together. That which is shared can always come apart again, and in so doing, create infinite particles from within the self, infinitely dividing into more and more realities that stem from greater and greater truths of who you are becoming. And in so doing, the universe expands infinitely, as do you. We thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in and break down the message for you guys. So they start out, you guys know that they frequently, in the beginning of the message, they frequently will give us an inclination of where they're headed. So they say, blessings, we are within. We begin speaking with you now on the topic of central control and central focus. So this is that idea that this is the beginning of the concept. So here is my picture to describe central control and central focus. It's not very pretty, but hopefully it helps. So here is my picture. This is the idea that right now everything stems from one point of consciousness. And that one point of consciousness, this is almost like where we all came from, I guess. This could be the collective. It's hard to say. But this is they're just calling it one point of consciousness. All of our reality stems from one point of consciousness right now. And it is, I drew it like a little movie projector, and it is projecting all of these potential experiences. And we are inside of that. And those potential experiences move through us, and together we are, it's coming, imagine that light coming from the projector through our back, projecting through us. And so together we are all like individual projectors, but what are we projecting? This. Right? We are just reflecting. This is moving through us, and then we are projecting it into, imagine this is like the big movie screen of Earth. This is like our shared reality. We are all projectors, but we are projecting from one shared source. So this is the reality as we are living in it today. And so they go, and we'll go into this in more detail, but have this in your mind of like today, everything starts here. Those potential experiences, the potential outcomes, everything that we've lived, breathed, and done as we have been in a human body, it comes through us, all from the same source, and we then all together have one co-created reality that we are all contained within. Okay, so that is today. So here's what they say. On the topic of central control and central focus, how all has been organized thus far from the pinpoint of concentrated awareness, that which is the projector, and all things replicate themselves from that central point. So all things replicate themselves. That's the idea that we have a karmic experience and we just replicate it over and over and over and over again. And as a matter of fact, you might relate to, when I was talking about my karma earlier, you might have been like, whoa, that is my karma too. That we replicated each other's karma. So that, like, how many actual experiences are there on earth? Like, you know, can you actually catalog and name? Like, these are all the things that can happen to you. And then so some of us are going to have the same experiences replicating throughout our lives, right? Again and again and again. So all things replicate themselves from that central point. All things are derivative from where you start. So to be derivative is derived from, right? It came from that starting point, the original starting point. All things derived from a shared focal point of awareness. So this is the first big concept. This is understanding where we are today. And this really, to me, is like the most interesting description of karma. Like there have been some really awful descriptions of karma that I've heard about, like things that are punitive and mean, and I don't believe in any of those. Like the ones that say like karma is a judgment that somebody made against us. Nope. I'm sorry, but I will just say nope. I'm not accepting that. It is us judging ourselves. But where does it come from? Right? Is it that, like, I even heard somebody like that said it was like some sort of a conspiracy to like lock us and enslave us in our karma, and I don't believe that either. That I believe that it is this concept of how realities are created and how the universe expands, and that we are currently at this stage of universal expansion where there is one particle, which maybe this is God, I don't know, but it is projecting the realm of possibilities, and we are all living inside that realm of possibilities, repeating them again and again and again to create a shared reality. So that's now. But what the projector is, I don't have an answer. I have some theories. That's all I got is theories. So, all things derive from a shared focal point of awareness. Next paragraph, they say, in the new reality that is beginning. So, the next thing that we're going to become after the flash of light, after we raise to this higher, that we shift our consciousness to this higher state, which is where we are heading. And if you haven't heard about that before, lots of messages from the angels on the channel, on my YouTube channel about that. But there will be this big flash of light that will be the moment that changes everything. And we are already being bombarded with energy. So we are slowly starting to move into this state, but we are not there yet. They say we're not there yet. In the new reality that is beginning, all shall readjust to an opening of another sort, a new beginning, a new construct within which the central focus of who you are becomes distributed among the many. Many realities shared at once through many points of focus. Okay, so I have another drawing for you, and this one is a little worse. so please have patience with me. It's the best I can do. It has color. It's got colors. I got my markers out this morning. So here is an idea of what consciousness might look like in the future. So after we go through the shift in reality. So remember here, we've got the single camera, one projected awareness that we are all inside of. Now imagine we move to an idea where we are all projectors. Every single one of us is a projector. And we are projecting lots of ideas, lots of potential realities. Now, among all the things that we project, there may be some that everybody agrees on, but not all. But there's going to be some that everybody says, oh yeah, I share that too. That works for me. I will accept your concept of that reality. And so everything that everyone agrees on comes into the center. And that becomes the shared concept of reality. But it's a conscious thing. It is not a subconscious thing. It is a thing where we are all co-creating conscious beings. And we will be aware, and they explain this more as we go, but we will be aware that, okay, here is a piece of us, or a piece of our concept of reality that everybody else is in agreement with. We will all put in our piece and we will create this shared reality. But by doing that, it shows us the fact that, wow, there's some pieces of us that don't fit, right? That don't mix into this. So what do we do with those? So this is the question, and it creates an internal polarity for us, but it's a beneficial polarity inside of us. So see how different this is, where we have multiple different points of projection. This is not a karmic experience, right? This is a co-created reality made by choice. So conceptually different, it is difficult to even wrap our heads around how this will work. But here's a picture. We can draw it. So now let's read about it, and then and hopefully it will become clearer as we go. So many realities shared at once through many points of focus. This concentrated awareness you have been a part of, so the old concentrated awareness, right, the way the movie projector that you have been a part of, unites and shares between yourselves a co-created reality of awareness which reinforces itself through a repetitive redistribution of similar experiences, which is the coolest, clearest description I have ever heard about karma. So what is karma? It is the repetitive redistribution of similar experiences over and over and over and over and over again. And sometimes we are having our own, where we're just repeating the same things. And sometimes we are both sharing the same thing, just different actors, different flavors, but it's the same wound, right, that we're working on together, which is why we relate to each other's karma, right? Repetitive redistribution of similar experiences. And so here's the other piece of it that's so important. The old reality, this structure of the movie thing structure, that because it keeps repeating the same thing, it is reinforcing this reality. So the reality becomes stronger and stronger and stronger the more we are sharing the same experiences, the more we can relate. It's almost like, think about every time you have an experience that I have also had, it creates a bond between us, almost like we're building a spider web, right? And that spider web is coming together to create the shared reality. And the more experiences we share, the more bonds there are, the thicker, the stronger that web gets. And that sounds great because it creates this really robust, strong shared reality. But the negative of that is that the tighter and tighter and tighter that web gets, the less movement there is, the less possibility there is of change, of anything outside of that web, right? So this is the direction of increasing solidity to our experience of living, right? Amazing. Isn't that amazing? Okay. So, okay. Then they go on, next paragraph. In the new reality, the new one, which will emerge from between you and within you. So between us, so in other words, we're co-creating it together, right? And then also from inside of ourselves. Multiple points of focus coalesce into a shared understanding that is accepted but not diminished between yourselves. And to coalesce means to grow together into one. Angel word of the day, coalesce, grow together into one. And that is this picture. So we have multiple, as they were saying here, we have, as they're saying, multiple points of focus, which is all of us, with each of us having our own perspective and many different perspectives. And then from this, we take some of those, right? That those focal points coalesce into a shared understanding that is accepted but not diminished between yourselves. So when something is, so the idea is that the old reality was diminishing because it was everything had to fit inside of this one perspective. This is not that. This is not saying you have to only put in what everybody else agrees on and you get nothing else. This is saying put in what plays, but keep the rest. Keep what doesn't fit. That's what they mean. It's not diminishing you. That you still get to exist. You would get to exist inside of the reality and outside of the reality. That's new. That is a new thing. It is as if many pinpoints of recognition can realign themselves to accept or deny a shared understanding of truth, right? It is not merely one point replicating itself. It is many points focusing together consciously for the co-creation of a shared reality by choice, right? Amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So, okay. So, and that's the key here, is that it's by choice. All right, so then they go on to say, next paragraph, the new understanding of yourselves as creators thus far has not emerged. It has not become the state of awareness. It shall not become this. You shall unify yourselves internally. You shall come to an understanding of your own central focus point, of your own conscious ability to become the creator, independent of what has come before. As a starting point, an instigator, not merely a reflection of the many instantiations you have lived thus far. So here, the key part here that really jumps out to me is this, that how are we going to do this? Like, what are the steps that we go through to get to this new state of consciousness? The first step they say here is you shall unify yourselves internally. So it's like everything in spirit. Everything is a fractal. Everything is a Russian doll where you have the little Russian doll inside the bigger Russian doll inside the bigger Russian doll. So right now, we have inside of ourselves, we have many different parts of ourself. We have, and this is related to our wounding. This is related to like every little horrible thing that happened to us that we then held on to and said, that was horrible. I never want to think about that again. And we stuff it down. Those are all like pieces of us that we slowly have to pull back up out of the muck and say, okay, I love you. I love myself through that event. Even though that happened to me, I love myself. And we bring all those pieces back in. And that is this slow recollection into one focal point. So right now, so it's almost like it's the opposite, where inside we have been this on the inside. We've been this, where we have like my inner child and my teenage self and myself from a past life. And we have all these different selves inside of us. And all of those are in here, sort of like co-creating a reality. But we know that sometimes we're like, hey, this is where we want to go. But then our inner child is like, nah, I don't want to do that. You're trying to become, financially secure, but that doesn't align with my belief system. So I'm going to pull you this way. Like, this is kind of like how we've been on the inside. And we are trying to move to this inside. We're trying to move to the place where all of us is aligned into one piece and we can strengthen our connection to our higher self. That is what's happening inside of us. And so that has to happen in order for our reality to turn around and become this, right? Once we become solidified on the inside, then we're able to turn around and say, okay, now I can consciously create my reality. So hopefully this is making sense. I know it's very conceptual, but I think it's amazing. And it deeply explains some things that we usually get very superficial explanations of. And that's why I love it. So Okay, so they go on to say, is not merely one point replicating itself, as many points focusing together consciously for the co-creation of a shared reality by choice. I'm in the next paragraph here. You shall unify yourselves internally. You shall come to an understanding of your own central focus point, which is this integration of all aspects of ourselves, of your own conscious ability to become the creator, right? Independent of what has come before. So this is freeing ourselves from our karma, right? As a starting point, an instigator, not merely a reflection of the many instantiations you've lived before. So in other words, we're not just blindly, subconsciously living in our karma. We have worked through our karma and healed our karma, and we've integrated all of that, and now we are conscious creators, and that is the shift that we are making. They go on to say, this starting point focuses where you are in the now moment. It is a new beginning, a new creative focus. It starts from the momentary awareness of yourself as standing upon the precipice of the unknown, of what has never been, of what cannot come from before. So this is really critical, this idea that, and they've been talking with us about this idea, and I'm sorry, there's somebody, hold on one second, there's somebody outside my house. Oh, it's the electric company. It's all good. Like somebody's messing around on anyways, it was the electric company measuring my meter. Oh, hopefully, are you guys still here? Are you with me? Okay, it looks like they just turned off some power. So hopefully we don't lose our connection here, you guys. My lights just went out. And I think I'm on my backup power, so hopefully we're still good, you guys. If this is happening, if this is my backup power, this is awesome because it means that my solar backup is working. All right, so hopefully, let me just double check. Are you guys with me? It looks like we're good. Okay, that is, wow, very amazing. We didn't even interrupt the broadcast. I love it. That is so cool. Okay, sorry about that distraction. Okay, so here they are saying this starting point focuses where you are in the now moment. It is a new beginning, a new creative focus. It starts from the momentary awareness of yourselves as standing upon the precipice of the unknown, of what has never been, of what cannot come from before. So this ties into all the messages they've been giving us about beginner's mind, about the childlike openness to things we've never experienced before. How the angels literally told us in one of their past messages, like, what is a positive step we can do to help ourselves embrace the new beginning? A positive step we can take is to do something we've never done before, to go out and learn a language, learn to sew, do something that is like where you have no idea even how to begin, where it totally takes you out of your comfort zone. Like that is working the muscles of getting outside of our karma, of getting outside of recreating the past. It gets us used to living with the uncertainty and getting comfortable with uncertainty. So that is part of the shift. It's that idea of standing on the edge of the abyss and being all right with not knowing where we're going. So a metaphor I used for this in one of our past messages was, imagine you're driving down a road and you see a side road that goes off and it looks interesting, but it's not on Google Maps and you have no idea where it's taking you and there's no signs. And that is the road you choose. And so imagine the experience of driving down that road, that you have no idea how long the road is going to be. You have no idea what's at the end of it or what you're going to meet along the way. You can only discover it as you experience it. That is where we're heading. And so that is this key. They're talking about it starts from the momentary awareness of yourself as standing upon the precipice of the unknown, of what has never been, of what cannot come from before. And we have so few experiences like this in our reality today. So imagine like what it used to be like when you traveled. When you traveled, you could maybe get a guidebook and you could read a little bit about where you were going, but everywhere you went, you were seeing for the first time as you arrived. Nowadays, before you go somewhere, you can watch a travel vlog about that place and experience everything you're going to experience before you get there. So when you get there, you're like just recognizing things you already knew about, right? So there are very few opportunities in our current reality to have this experience of living upon the precipice of the unknown, of what has never been for us, right? We have very few experiences of that. So they're saying like, seek them out, create them for yourself, because it is part of this shift. It's part of what it means to be creating a new reality. All right, next paragraph. They go on to say, the how and how it is done cannot be known. The what to do cannot be understood. So think about how triggering that is. Like the first thing we usually want when we face the unknown is we want to figure out what should I do? And we go through this, it creates anxiety. Like if I feel like I should be doing something, I don't know what it is, anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. They're saying, yeah, we need to get comfortable with it so that we don't have anxiety, so that we trust we're in the flow. We trust ourselves, right? That we're going to create it from inside of ourself. And what our self is this lovely integrated whole being that can create something beautiful for ourselves and for everyone. They go on to say, it comes from within. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love this phrase, this line. So just take a breath and let this one sink in. It comes from within, from the spoken heart of that, let me say it again. It comes from within, from the spoken heart that knows its own awareness aloud into the emptiness. Here is how a newness is begun, how a newly arisen consciousness states itself as a new beginning. And I absolutely love that phrase, that a spoken heart that knows its own awareness aloud into the emptiness. So we think of that like speaking aloud, but to know your own awareness aloud into the emptiness is that it's a conscious projection of who we are from inside. That's what we're saying, is that we don't have to, it's literally just by being. This is a description of beingness, and that beingness is a projection. We know ourselves aloud into the abyss. How beautiful is that, right? And here is how a newness is begun, right? How a newly arisen consciousness states itself as a new beginning. And it's not by figuring it out. It is not a head-based thing in any way, shape, or form. And that is the challenge for us. Because whenever we're faced with something new, the first thing we do is try to figure it out. And we figure it out based on what was, but what we used to experience, what used to be. And all of that is old paradigm and will not work. So we have to get out of the head and just allow our consciousness, our wholeness, who we are, to be allowed, right? We allow it to be allowed into the emptiness. Amazing. I love that phrase. I love it. Purple highlighter all over it. Yeah, wow. Okay, next paragraph. A universal construct stems from within your heart, each and every one. And as you come together into conscious awareness, the push and pull of those awarenesses come into agreement and resolution upon what shall be shared opportunities that stem from within and conjoin and unite into an agreed upon focal point of the now moment. So that is a perfect description of this picture, right here. So we have all of us separate beings. So, and each of us has a universal construct. So we are each on our own a divine being, which means we are each a universe, a construct, a concept of a universe. We each are. Each of us is a universe, is what they're saying here. We all have our own little idea of what a universe can be. And it's based on our unique spark of the divine. Like it is what we are meant to express into the world. But we are trying to come together, all these divine beings trying to come together to create something that is shared. So how do we do it? They say that as we come together into conscious awareness, the push and pull of those awarenesses come into agreement. So it's almost like a little bit of like you put a little bit of your stuff in and you see if anybody takes it, and then they put a little of theirs in and you pull a little. Oh, you're like, oh yeah, I agree with that. I'll pull a little bit. So it's a push and a pull, right? It's like we're kind of designing it as we are coming together, right? It's a co-created experience, a push and pull of those awarenesses, and they come into agreement, right? So what works? What do we all agree upon as something we want to share? And it is a resolution upon what shall be shared opportunities that stem from within each of us and conjoin and unite into an agreed upon focal point of the now moment. So it is a conscious process of creating a reality, totally unlike where we have been, right? Amazing, absolutely amazing. So, and then they go on to say, there shall be within each of you a distributed reality which cannot be conjoined, certain aspects of your own internal starting point which shall not rise into the shared construct of what is accepted by the many. And so this is that idea that here we have, like if you are this little pink guy, you've got one of your pieces that everybody is like, yeah, we want that. But then you're like, yeah, but I've got all these those elements that don't really fit. So I'm not going to put those in. So you still have these. They said that this will be a distributed reality which cannot be conjoined. Right? It does not match everybody else, so it can't fit inside the center. And so, and it shall not rise into the shared construct. It will stay outside. And they say, and this is an angularity to the shared construct. It is a separative moment. It is a space within which you are separated from the whole. And this is by agreement. So in other words, it's intentional that we knowingly will participate in a reality while at the same time also knowingly maintaining concepts of reality that do not fit inside the shared reality. It's a little bit like imagine that you are like a modern day Catholic and you are like, you want to be part of the church because you like the tradition and you love the people and you love the community and you want to be in it. So there's parts of it that you're going to accept and you're going to say, okay, these pieces of the doctrine I believe in, but I don't really believe in all of it. And there's a big chunk of me that doesn't fit because in reality, I'm super woo-woo. And so all that other stuff of you, so you can go to church and you can participate, but then you also know you're maintaining all these other concepts of reality that don't fit inside that center. So this is a little bit like what it would be like, okay, what this new reality, except it's not just one thing inside of the reality, it is the whole reality. This is a settlement within the self of, and they're saying here in quotes, this is almost like what we would be saying inside our head. I am still a separated particle of awareness. Interesting they call us that because it gets away from the idea of us as a body. We are like a spark of divine, right? A particle of awareness. I am still a separated particle of awareness. I am still myself, though I contribute to the all. So it's this concept of and this really addresses, as we are moving to a unified consciousness, which is this concept of conscious belonging into a unified construct. They're saying we are not becoming the Borg. We are not losing our identity or our individuality, right? I am still myself, though I contribute to the all. And the Borg, if you guys are not a Star Trek fan, that is a Star Trek thing. The Borg is like where everyone is assimilated and they lose their identity. And that's not what we're going to become. They say, I experience harmony within myself through the co-creation that is shared and the separative elements of who I am that are not shared. So the harmony comes from being true to who we are, from accepting all parts of ourselves, the pieces that belong and the pieces that don't belong. So we internally are harmonious, right? And we have this ability to participate in the shared construct while also acknowledging in the same way that you can be a Catholic and not be a Catholic at the same time, right? And I just used Catholicism because it was handy and it was on my mind because of the Pope. So and because I happen to know that our friend Aaron, who's in our community here, is that, yes, Aaron, I'm talking about you. Maybe I shouldn't have shared that. I won't say your last name. So, so anyways, so then we go on to say, I am in polarity within myself in my wholeness. My wholeness experiences sharing and separation within the whole construct of who I am. Right? My wholeness experience is sharing and separation within the whole construct of who I am. So this is that idea that we are, there's a unity and a polarity that we are experiencing simultaneously. And this is important to how our reality will be constructed and what our experience will be. So they say next paragraph, they say, each of you shall rise into this disagreement and agreement, which is like we are in disagreement with the whole, and yet we are also in agreement with the whole, because part of us is leaning in, part of us is leaning out. They say each of us shall rise into this, with this disagreement and agreement within the self. And through this positive attraction which draws you together, so in other words, because the first step is going to be figuring out which pieces of ourselves belong in the center, which parts of us match with everybody else. And that will be a positive attraction that draws us together. So step one is we are attracted together. They say step one is through this positive attraction which draws you together. Then step two comes, the polarity of what shall not come into agreement shows itself to your awareness. And so that's the second step, right? We see where we're different because we're participating with everybody. We're saying, here's what I am that fits. Oh, I realize these pieces don't fit. Okay, I'll keep those out. So that's step two, right? And it is through the polarity, through understanding what does not agree, that we come into awareness of our individuality, right? Then that comes to step three. You come to see yourself as a magnificent, expansive particle in the universe because of step one and two, right? The fact that we experience polarity, the fact that we discover there's pieces of us that don't fit, that don't belong, that are actually, we realize, wow, I'm actually way more expansive. Wow, I'm actually a universe all by myself. And I can share parts of my universe with everyone else, right? But I can also go off and create a bunch of other universes, right? So our differences make us expansive. They open us up to opportunity, to potentials, which the whole point of this is to limit our potential and our opportunity, to create a tighter and tighter spider web within which we are all contained, sharing karma, recreating experiences which we just regurgitate and do again and again and again, and you have it, I have it, and then I have it 50 times and you have it 40 times, and we just do it again, and it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. That's the old reality. We are now understanding, wow, we're breaking free of that. And yes, I can co-create a reality with you, and we can have this wonderful shared understanding of what life is. And within that, I can also see, wow, I have the potential to create a bunch of these, right? And I can belong to all of them. So think about what that would be like. To me, what that says is that would be like the experience of your higher self. That imagine your higher self is up above there saying, okay, I see all these different timelines. I see all these different moments of living where, I could have a me that's alive here in 2025, but I could also have a me that's alive in 1492. And I could have a me that's alive right now on another planet. I could live and participate in all these different realities at once, but they're all still me. So it's almost like we open up to that idea of ourselves as having some of the same capabilities as our higher self, where we can co-create a reality together, but we can also have this expanded state of belonging or potentially creating more or different versions of reality, which the message doesn't go there. It doesn't describe like we have the potential. They only say the potential. They don't say we're going to do it. So it may be that that's a thing we grow over time. That is something that we develop. But the fact is we're developing the capacity for it. Yeah, which is amazing. Okay. So let me see where I was, because I lost my place again. And then they go on to say, through that which cannot conjoin with others, you stretch yourself into a polarity that expands the universal possibilities of what can arise into a future construct. You become more because of the polarity that you house. So this is them basically describing what we just talked about. You stretch yourself into a polarity, right? Where the polarity is some of me belongs, some of me doesn't belong, and the things that are not belonging in polarity expand the universal possibilities of what could arise into a future construct. So this is really what they're addressing. We will have this capability, this potential that will be born from inside of us. They go on to say, all cannot be resolved to join together into what is whole in the central focus of all of humanity. So they're saying there's no way we can possibly shoehorn all of who we are into the shared construct in our higher state of consciousness. They say there cannot be a wholeness that incorporates all of what you are. There can only be that which aligns with all else that comes together. So that's the idea. Some of us can fit, not all of us can fit. In terms of internal, like every single person, but in terms of inside each person, there will be some pieces that fit and some that don't. And that which shall not meld into the conjoined reality separates you from a shared understanding that is all-inclusive, wherein you might lose the concentration and awareness of your own individual self. So this is how we don't become the Borg in a truly unified state of existence, is that not all of us joins in. We keep some of us out. And that's not by not saying that I'm not going to share myself. It's just the polarity evolves. We recognize there's some of us that does not belong in this, that we have a strong sense of belonging, because they've told us that when we get there, it will be an incredible sense of belonging, because we will be choosing to co-create a reality to which we are integral to, that we are an integral part of, but it's just not all of us. It's not every part of us. But I do believe that when we get there, that other people will be able to see all parts of us, right? It's just that they might not participate in all parts of us. Yeah. So the polarity juxtaposes your internal reality against that which is shared and shows the self how you might rise into newer and more creative aspects of who you are, creating infinite universes beyond this one. So just wrap your head around that, right? That it really is the idea that we are universe creators. Mind-blowing. Creating elements of self that extend far beyond that which is imagined now. It is a wholeness of truth that you all share together. That which is shared can always come apart again, and in so doing, create infinite particles from within the self, infinitely dividing into more and more realities that stem from greater and greater truths of who you are becoming. And in so doing, the universe expands infinitely, as do you. We thank you. So that last paragraph I would call wonderful and terrifying. It is a wonderful and terrifying paragraph because that idea that we have this truth of the universe, they're saying here, is that which is shared can always come apart again. And humans do not like that idea. Like we don't like change. All we want, like I remember when I was in my 20s and I met my first husband, and I remember saying like, oh, it's so amazing. Like I have one of life's big questions answered. Like my vision from my 20-year-old self was like, I could not wait to start to narrow my focus so that I would know what my life was going to be. And I would have the big questions figured out. And there wouldn't be so much unknown and so much like, how do I exist in this crazy world? Like I would have some of the big questions answered. And the funny thing is, and I think that is a human, like we want that because it's so much work to be in the unknown, like to be figuring things out all the time, to be uncertain is, it feels scary to us. It feels dangerous, even though it's not. We're infinite beings, but it feels, our human self says it's scary not to have the answers because we don't know what's coming and will I be all right? And all of our wounding tells us that we won't be all right. So then we get scared. And then here they're telling us, right, that which is shared can always come apart again. Like, wait a minute, you mean like I could spend all my life building this carefully stacked little whatever reality, and then it's all going to go like, and the answer is yes. And that has happened in my life again and again and again and again. Like, oh, look, I got all my answers. Kaboom. Let's break it into infinite particles. Like that has been my life. Yeah. But I am really comfortable with flowing in the unknown. At this point, like I'm crazy comfortable with flowing in the unknown. And I don't want to knock on wood. I'm not challenging the universe there to show me more chaos. That is not a challenge to the universe. I just want to be really clear about that. I'm just saying to myself, I see growth in that I am no longer that 20-year-old that is doing everything to try to narrow the construct of my life. I am now at an unnamed age, actively working to try to flow into a more dynamic expression of who I am that is always changing. And that is a very, very different idea of reality and how I want to live my life. It's much less fear-based, right? 20-year-old, total fear-based. Now, not so much. Yeah, so that which is shared can always come apart again. And then in so doing, create infinite particles from within the self. So it is like by shattering ourself, which is like, so that's so brutal, shattering ourself, right? We then, each of those particles can become a new self. And this brings me to a vision that the angels gave me before to try to help me understand the concept of past lives. And the idea is like, how do we actually have past lives? Like, what is all that? And we do absolutely. But how does it work? And they showed me, the visual they gave me was a pool table, like the triangle where you put all the balls in the center and then you have the one white ball and you hit the white ball and it goes and it hits the ones in the center and then they scatter all at once. And they showed me that is how we create our lives on earth. That the minute your soul decided to incarnate on earth, you were that pool table, that you created all of your lives in one moment, because all moments are now. All reality is the now moment. So you literally made the choice, and then all of the lives created in the same moment, and they are all out there happening at the same time. And we say, well, okay, I'm carrying wounds from my past life. Yeah, because you're connected, right? We are connected to that past life, and it's affecting you right now. So we can heal backwards, right? We can heal each other. So, and there are times where you will grow and grow and grow in spirit, and you'll get to a place where all of a sudden you're at a new level of consciousness, and all of a sudden old wounding seems to come back in again. And that's because you're tapping into gifts you had in a past life, but you can't get the gifts unless you also take the wounds. So then you're like, wow, I'm feeling, anyways, that's a whole nother story. But the point being is that this is kind of what they're describing. This idea that which comes together can always come apart again, like the Big Bang of the universe. And it can become infinite particles, and each one can grow into a beautiful new universe. So, which is terrifying. Like as a human, that is wonderful and amazing and beautiful and absolutely terrifying. That's how I feel about it. I don't know about you guys, because it is like, will we ever have the answers, you know? And but then the flip side of that is, would we ever want to be in a construct that is limited? You know, do we ever want to get to the end of the book? Not really. We really don't. Like, it's really fun as we're getting close to the end of the book, and then the minute we get to the end, we're like, oh, like that's the end. Like, yeah, so the answer is it doesn't end. That it's a series, and there's a new one coming. It's the ultimate series of books. So yeah, infinite particles can always come apart again. In so doing, create infinite particles from within the self, infinitely dividing. So in other words, this concept happens again and again and again, infinitely dividing into more and more realities that stem from greater and greater truths of who you are becoming. So this, to me, is where the fear goes away. That it isn't a thing where the shattering and the scattering and the infinite particles, it doesn't come randomly or haphazardly. There's a divine order to it, and the divine order is the thing that we can count on. And that is a divine order of love, right? Of love for us, of love for each other. But what it means is that the shattering happens because we discover truths about ourselves. It is the pathway through truth, through greater and greater expression of who we truly are. And so there's an order and a process to this bringing together and bringing apart again, and collecting and then scattering. That we only scatter after we have gotten to the point where we understand ourselves more deeply. So it's a reflection of our growth. And so in other words, they're saying, we're just not going to let you keep expanding and expanding and expanding and just constantly losing yourself again and again and again. You are only going to expand after you have found yourself. Once you find yourself, then the growth can happen, and it will become not a shattering, but a blossoming. And think about the difference of that and how beautiful that feels. And that, I think, is love. That is the order of the universe. So I think that's the key. So, and think about, even as we're talking about like what the angels have been telling us about this shift in consciousness, what is the step we have to get to before we can have the shift in consciousness? It is the integration of who we are. It is the acceptance and the loving of all our different parts. It's the truth. We have to get to our truth. And that readies us for this new state of expansion. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, you guys, how about that? Was that deep? I mean, like, this is one of the deepest conversations I think I can remember ever having, honestly. All right, you guys, sending you tons of love. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here. Bye, you guys.